Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Wednesday edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. On the breakup map here, nothing going on now down south, of course, along the Yukon-Kuskokwim. Those are open now, but breaking up here on the Noatak and Kobuk rivers, some open areas there. Unknown up through here in the upper reaches there, but getting some open areas on both rivers, as well as the Sagwan and Colville River up here to the north. Got some open areas on both of those. Temperatures this afternoon, for example, there in Colville, Umiat Airfield, into the mid to upper 30s. And looks like everything's going to do a gentle dissolve here for the next several days. And over the fire danger here, there's no fire danger anywhere, just too wet, too cold. Although the central and upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country, they're going to have high river levels because of all the rain and the snow melt through the Memorial Day weekend. So moving on to the satellite imagery, looks like clearing occurring here in areas across the southwest. Down to Kodiak Island, mostly cloudy there from scattered showers around, and also up along the North Gulf Coast. A very weak system bringing some moisture into the panhandle here. You can see not real organized at all. Another better organized band here with a low pressure area in the Gulf of Alaska bringing rain up to the North Gulf Coast. Northward here, streaming across the eastern interior, bringing the rain up into the eastern Tanana Valley there across the Copper River Basin and the Alaska Range, and some more cloudiness back up here to the northwest, and gusty winds with some snow and fog going along the eastern Arctic coast there, tapering off as you get over toward Barrow, and then a large low pressure system out here over the southern Bering Sea north of the Adak-Atka area, giving numerous showers out there for Adak and Atka with some breezy conditions. Showers all the way back to Shemya, extending to the Fox Islands, rain along the frontal boundary here across the Alaska Peninsula, and that just reaching the southwest coast during the afternoon today. Whoop, let me back one up. There we go. Rain just reaching the Cape Newinam to Nunivak Island area. Winds gusting 35 miles an hour ahead of that front at Cape Newingham, and more in the 15 to 20 to 25 mile per hour range out ahead of it farther. But isolated thunderstorms here over the eastern interior, central interior areas. And actually, that shower should be a thunderstorm. Those developed into some lightning strikes here just recently. Showers back up to the northwest. And again, the areas of snow and fog, light snow there, central eastern Arctic coast. Winds gusting to about 35 miles an hour, both at Deadhorse and Kaktovik this afternoon. And we'll move on to tonight. Weak low develops here right over the Alaska Peninsula. That'll keep clouds and rain, light rain going there, and rain with this front will spread back up into Kodiak later tonight, especially on the southern and eastern side, with unsettled conditions over the Aleutians with that low hanging just north of Adak and Atka, and several weak lows here over the interior. That's going to make for light wind conditions. Still stay breezy on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast there. Look for scattered or isolated showers here with mostly cloudy skies across much of southern Alaska. Still some steady rain around Yakutat, numerous showers. Northern Panhandle scattering out as you head down toward Dixon Entrance, but skies will remain mostly cloudy. And for tomorrow, northwest part of the state, looks like a good place if you want to see some sunshine there. Could be a few, probably will be some breaks in the overcast and some sun breaks here with dry conditions, light winds. Not as breezy there for the Arctic coast, but still fog flurries, low clouds, possible anywhere from Wainwright all the way over to Kaktovik. Isolated showers, risk of a thunderstorm, eastern Brooks Range. Isolated thunderstorms, eastern interior again, with the showers a little more numerous, but not quite as numerous as they have been. And that'll extend down across the Copper River Basin. Showers, North Gulf Coast, hanging on over the northern panhandle, but drying out down to the south as this front begins to approach. That's going to keep it wet across Kodiak Island throughout the day tomorrow, but winds won't be a problem at all. And out over the Aleutians, not looking for much in the way of wind at all. A little breezy, but nothing serious there. Scattered showers out to the west, showers along this trough of the Alaska Peninsula, and then also along this trough here, extending down toward the Yukon Delta from the central interior. And then taking a look ahead to Friday, looking like this, again, low pressure in the interior could lead to some afternoon thunderstorms, scattered or isolated here, eastern interior, all the way down to the Kuskokwim Valley, and showers to the north, rain or snow showers, north slope and the Arctic coast there. Looks a little breezier here from Point Lay down to, say, Point Hope. On the winds, maybe gusts 30 miles an hour, and kind of breezy here along the west coast, too, from the Seward Peninsula down along the Yukon Delta coast, maybe gusts 20 to 25 or so, and showers with northerly flow here for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, high pressure, light winds that'll lead to considerable low clouds and fog here for the Aleutians and into the central and western Bering Sea. And that front weakens into a trough, moving rain in actually tomorrow night for the southeast coast, Thursday night, and then on Friday beginning to edge eastward, so breaking out into some scattered showers there for the central and south coast, periods of light rain, North Gulf Coast, showers Kodiak Island, scattered showers Copper River Basin, and maybe some partly sunny skies with the Madanuska-Susitna Valley into northern Cook Inlet, as well as the back to the southwest. And for the lows tonight, upper 30s to near 40 here over the southeast interior, down to lower to mid 20s for the Arctic coast, lower to mid 40s for the Panhandle, and 30s out to the west. For the highs, near 60 from the lower Yukon and Kuskokwim Valley areas to lower 60s into the central and eastern interior. Some areas could be warmer, like Beaver was 67 today. And then for the lows the following morning, Friday morning, looking like this. Mild, lower to mid 40s, central interior in the Yukon Delta. 20s now, lower to mid, Arctic coast, milder over the north slope, and mid 30s out to about Kotzebue and Nome, with lower 40s for the southwest coast and Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, 40s again for the Panhandle, near 40 out over the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, although some areas slipping into the upper 30s. And then looking at the high temperatures for Friday, again, 60s here, eastern interior, again, some areas could actually push 70 degrees in the afternoon up over this area if you get the sun, but lower 60s back into the northern Kuskokwim Valley with mid 50s, mid to upper 50s for the St. Mary's, Bethel area locations, Marshall, and lower 40s there at Macoriac, lower 30s, just edging above freezing at Gamble, and 43 for Nome, and 30s here, northern Seward Peninsula, up to the northwest coast, and right around 30 there for the central Arctic coast, eastward to Kaktovik, and 40s for the Aleutians.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Our first flying weather graphic shows a lot of IFR up here tomorrow morning across the North Slope from the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast. VFR here, southwest interior, northeastward, and then cutting across, looks like north of the White Mountains across the upper Yukon. Marginal VFR there, central upper Tanana Valley, southward all the way to the IFR band here, Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast, in across all of the Panhandle, and narrow band IFR out here between the Perblofs, Nunivak Island, slipping on down to the Alaska Peninsula, but otherwise mostly marginal out west. And for tomorrow afternoon, IFR hangs tough up here over the North Slope out to the Arctic coast, on down to the north side of the Seward Peninsula, say Shishmaref on down to Teller, Tin City, and Wales. And we'll not leave Teller out of it. It'll be marginal right on the edge of the VFR there. White Mountain for sure in the VFR, southwest, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, Kuskokwim Valley, on up into the interior. Marginal VFR there with that upper system holding over the eastern Tanana Valley, and marginal all the way down into the Gulf of Alaska. IFR now east side of Kodiak, marginal out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and now marginal VFR in the afternoon for the Panhandle, becoming VFR there down to the southeast. And for the next morning, Friday morning, marginal VFR now for the southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, Copper River Basin to the Alaska Range. Looks like VFR from about say Anchor Point or so northward into the Madanuska-Susitna Valley, but IFR right along the south coast of the Kenai Peninsula, probably up into southwest Prince William Sound, northern Kodiak Island, VFR here southwest coast, Kuskokwim Valley, central interior, back to the widespread IFR from the Brooks Range, the Arctic coast, and marginal VFR with IFR now over the Pribilof Islands. In the afternoon, that expands. here out over much of the eastern Bering Sea now, on down to Unalaska Island, western Alaska Peninsula, marginal for Kodiak, marginal up along the coast, eastern North Gulf Coast area right on the edge of the IFR, marginal in the Panhandle, VFR eastern interior, on down across Cook Inlet into Bristol Bay. And taking a look at the passes. Almost fell off the picture there. Anatuvik marginal, as well as Adigan, marginal VFR tomorrow. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR the entire day. Same forecast for rainy. Now, windy starting out IFR, improving to marginal in the afternoon. That same trend also for Isabel. And Mentasta, marginal VFR start to finish for the day Thursday. And Tanita, marginal VFR becoming VFR in the afternoon or sooner. And Portage, IFR eastern entrance, otherwise marginal. And probably that same thing for the next day. Chilkoot and White, IFR becoming marginal. Freezing levels, 4 to 6,000, mostly 4,000 feet here, interior Alaska, 6,000 feet, just poking in from the east there, 2,000 feet here in Yakutat into the northern Panhandle, 2,000 feet here, kind of a cool air mass aloft across the Bering Sea and the Northwest Pacific here into the Gulf of Alaska. And icing could be some mixed rime icing here, above about 4,000 feet of the isolated moderate variety there, eastern allusions to Adak. Another swath here through the, from the Yukon Delta, kind of expands here over the mid-Tanana Valley. And then another band here with that southeast flow coming up and northeastward, Kodiak Island into the central coast of the Panhandle. And then this more of a mixed hit and miss type of condition here for the northern Panhandle and the North Gulf Coast there into the eastern Alaska Range. Jet stream, strong jet here, that cold air south, putting the squeeze on the atmosphere there, 130 knots, splits right through here, this branch right into the Panhandle, upper level trough here, eastern interior near Kodiak Island and back out to the west, and 9,000 feet. Several weak low centers here through interior Alaska. That's keeping the winds pretty light. North side though, 20-25 along the Arctic coast. And then with this system swinging up into the northeast, winds increasing eastern Gulf of Alaska and along the Panhandle, 20-25 though, to start with, and then easterlies 25 looks like right into Barren Islands, southern Cook Inlet across Kamishak Bay, Bristol Bay. That same pattern at 3,000 feet, 25 to 30 knot winds, increasing winds along the southeast coast. Light and variable, 5 to 15 over the interior Arctic coast, easterlies 25 to 30, central and east side. And northerlies wrapping around that low, not that bad, 15 to 20 knots or so, and light winds over Bristol Bay. Turbulence-wise, not a lot of turbulence out there over the interior, but along the Arctic coast with those gusty winds, light to isolated moderate chop. Here, Barren Islands and the Panhandle. After the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Dual polarization technology is a major upgrade to the current radar system. It allows forecasters a better idea of what's actually out there and can help keep you safe.
Current radar technology transmits and receives information in the horizontal direction, which is very limited. Dual polarization technology, in addition to the horizontal, transmits and receives vertical energy, which allows forecasters to get information about the size, shape, and phase of the precipitation. We can use that information to better determine the precipitation type to expect at your given location.
There you have it. This new technology is currently being installed in radars across the country and is already being used by National Weather Service forecasters to produce better, more accurate forecasts. Learn more here and follow us. Want to know about the future of weather radar? Well, the National Severe Storms Lab has it here with its new phased array radar. Let's check it out.
It's a non-moving radar. It has 4 faces of the antenna, each pointing in different directions. One of the big advantages is that we're seeing so far, it can sample the area around the radar in less than a minute, maybe even a half a minute. And this is 5-6 times faster than what they can do today.
NSSL is leading the development of future weather radar with this project. Learn more here and follow us. The Storm Prediction Center is one of the NOAA weather partners. They are located in the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Greg Carbon gives us a glimpse into what the SPC does.
Our mission is to analyze and forecast severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds from those thunderstorms across the lower 48 states, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the primary missions of the Storm Prediction Center is the issuance of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the country when conditions appear to be coming together to support the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes.
The world-class meteorologists in the Storm Prediction Center specialize in severe weather and keeping you safe. Learn more here and follow us.
The National Severe Storms Lab is working on increasing the lead time for severe weather warnings. The national average for tornado warnings is currently 13 minutes, but more notice would be helpful, especially for those in charge of moving large groups to shelter. Warn on Forecast will help forecasters issue hazardous weather warnings earlier. The project will give them more info about the chances of strong winds, large hail, and even tornadoes.
Currently, warnings are created by forecasters looking at the atmosphere outside, understanding its volatility, and then comparing that to how they see the Doppler radar presenting what's going on inside the thunderstorms. Warn on Forecast is an idea where we're going to take the massive amounts of satellite, radar, and surface data and stick them all into a very high resolution prediction model. And then by producing new forecasts every 15 or 20 minutes, the forecasters hopefully will be able to use that model to produce warnings that extend out to an hour.
Before the National Weather Service can use this tool, it must be developed and tested. One big challenge will be deciding how to get the model predictions to the forecasters.
I'm going to keep this one very low. I'm just adjusting the track.
These hazardous weather prediction models are going to produce a huge amount of output. And this fire hose of data is just too much for forecasters to handle in real time quickly. So in order to help deal with that, NSSL has developed a related project called Facets. And Facets is the methodology which will enable forecasters to focus very quickly on the most important threats.
Once Warn on Forecast and Facets are proven to be reliable and effective, then forecasters will be better able to inform you of threats nearby. Learn more here and follow us.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is located at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. It is used for experiments that will allow forecasters to learn and apply new technologies.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is a really unique space throughout all of NOAA. And this is where the researchers and the operational folks come together in a common space to solve operational problems and to test new research tools that the research community is working on. The goal is to accelerate the transfer from research to operations of the newest tools and techniques.
People come from around the world to collaborate on this unique project.
We can bring together not only NOAA people, but also university people, faculty, researchers, private sector meteorologists, folks working in other countries in meteorology, forecasters can all come together and focus on what the problem of the day is with the forecasters.
Each spring, several experiments occur in the Hazardous Weather Test Bed. Learn more here and follow us.
What are you looking at? And what are you ignoring? Did you notice the NOAA logo in the corner? Forecasters have a lot of information in front of them too. Every second counts during severe weather, and decisions about where to focus are constantly being made. This could be even more challenging in the future. Phased array radar will produce 4 to 6 times more information than what we have now, which brings us to the question researchers are hoping to answer. Will more radar information affect forecasters' decisions?
From our past experiments, we've learned a lot about how forecasters think during the warning decision process, but we've also learned that those thought processes are very complex, and for that reason, we need a better way to be able to track forecasters' cognitive activity.
Inbounds and possibly golf ball sized hail.
An eye tracker is a piece of technology that is used to determine in real time where someone's eye gaze is located. And these eye trackers are typically video-based, which means a camera sits below a computer monitor, and with infrared light and vector analysis, we can determine where a person is looking and how their eyes are moving.
Eye tracking is already being used in the medical field and air traffic control. Using similar research methods, NSSL is discovering the benefit for weather forecasting too. Phased array radar will give forecasters a lot more to think about. Understanding their decision-making process will help researchers develop even more user-friendly tools. So what's the benefit for you? Even better weather warnings. To learn more, check us out online and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back here, sea ice-free waters. Now all the way up into the Chukchi Sea here, with less than a tenth coverage up to the northwest there along the western coast, and northeast winds continue for the next several days. So this portion will kind of trend to move to the west, with pieces breaking off and then melding as they move in, and continued melding here, whatever's left along the coast, also for the next several days. Coastal water forecast here. Look for south to southeast winds, mostly 25 knots, 7-foot seas here for the southeast coast. On the outer coast, Clarence Strait, southeast 15, same thing for Stevens Passage, south 15, Lynn Canal, seas all 3 feet. Southerlies at 20 knots there for Lynn Canal on Friday, but north 15 for Stevens Passage, and back around to the southeast, coming up to 25 knots for Clarence Strait, and southwest 15 knots here on the south coast, south 20 knots on the north coast. Prince William Sound. For tomorrow, east winds 15 knots, tad stronger here in the eastern North Gulf Coast at 20 with 5-foot seas. Small craft advisories, east winds 25 knots there across the Barren Islands into Kamishak Bay with 7-foot seas. Light winds south of the Forelands and about 15 knots from the northern Cook Inlet. Outlook for Friday, no change in northern Cook Inlet, coming up to about 20 knots from the north, though south of the Forelands. Kamishak Bay coming down to 15 knots, northeast 25 holding for the 25 knot winds holding here, with small craft advisories out of the northeast, becoming east there for all of the North Gulf Coast with 25 knot wind, seas 8 feet. And Prince William Sound east at about 15 with 3-foot seas. Now on to Shelikof Strait, northeast 25 with 9-foot seas, otherwise lighter winds there east of Kodiak. And from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev, southwest 15. North side of the peninsula, pretty light northerlies, only 10 knots, east at about 20 for Bristol Bay. And northeast 15 there for the bay on Friday, north 20, Bering Sea side of the peninsula, south side northeast 15, turn east 15 as you get up towards Sitkinak, northeast 20 knots, Shelikof Strait, just north of 15 there for the eastern side of Kodiak Island. And the Fox Islands, south to southwest 15, maybe 25 knots for tomorrow, west 20 to 25 for Adak and Atka, turning northwest, but only at 20 knots there on out across the western Aleutians. And those become pretty light for Friday, northwest 10 out there in the far western zone, north 15, northwest 15 to 20 for the Adak-Atka area, and then north to northwest at about 20 knots here, maybe some higher gusts possible with 5 to 7-foot seas for the Fox Islands. Southwest coast, offshore flow, east to northeast, 20 knots here, northeast 20 for St. Matthew Island, the Pribilofs east at 15, northeast 15 for St. Lawrence Island, north at 10 for Norton Sound. And then for Friday, 15 knots there for the Sound and St. Lawrence Island, 20 knots all the way down to Nunivak Island. South of Nunivak Island, only 15 there, west of Kuskokwim Bay. North 20 for the Pribilofs with 5-foot seas, northwest 20 with 6-foot seas for St. Matthew Island. And moving on up to the eastern Beaufort Sea coast for tomorrow, that's where the winds will be the strongest. Brisk wind advisories continue. East 25 knots there, central coast down to about 20, and then on to the west there to Point Lay. And then becoming rather light there from Point Lay, say down to Cape Thompson, northwest 15 for the Chukchi Sea. And those pick up about 20 knots for Friday, and 20 knot winds here from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, and then the western coast, east 20, only 15 for the central coast, and down to 20 knots now from the east-northeast for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And for tonight again, weak system in the Gulf moves inland and weakens, continues to weaken, but enough moisture for some light rain at times for the Yakutat area, maybe back toward Cape Yakataga, possibly in the northern panhandle, but less chances of precipitation the farther south you go. Rain back on the increase for Kodiak later tonight, staying wet along the Alaska Peninsula. This part of the front weakens, no problems, and dry over the north central interior, and drier, more showery, less precipitation here for the eastern Tanana Valley. And then for tomorrow, isolated thunderstorms, scattered showers here, eastern Tanana Valley, 40-mile country, upper Tanana Valley, maybe a little more numerous in the showers in the afternoon. Scattered showers, northern panhandle, dry in the south, rain, Kodiak Island, and unsettled for the Aleutians. And then that front weakens, pushing rain into the panhandle with scattered showers over the interior. That's a look at the weather. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.